Okay, we're gonna do brakes on a Ram 1500 Dodge Ram Hemi, and the brakes are shot in the front, and we're gonna get the wheel off. What you do is you loosen all the lug nuts up, and then you get your jack underneath the car. I got the back wheel chocked so the truck don't roll, and I'll get it right under the A-frame here. As close as I can to the wheel. And jack it up just to the wheels off the ground. You don't have to go super high. Just get the wheel off the ground, and then you can take your lug nuts off. Okay, I did a video on how to put the new brake pads on, and I changed this rotor. What happened was the calipers, the pistons on the calipers, the boots were shot. They were gone. They were just torn off, and the dirt probably got in there on the piston. And when I did the front brakes, both wheels were dragging. This was dragging. In fact, this one I can't even turn. The other one loosened up. I just checked that one, but this one is jammed. That means the pistons are not releasing on the caliper. So I got rebuilding kits for these to put new pistons in, and I got them really cheap. Everybody wants a fortune for these. If you could find them, you can't even find the pistons, but I found everything very cheap. I think the seal kit was $3 a kit, and the pistons were, I think, $4 a piece. And there's 2 pistons in here, so it was like $8, $9, $10, $11, $12 a side to do these. Then you pay for the shipping. But I'm gonna get all this back apart again, and then we're gonna work on the caliper. Okay, so this is what we're up against. I got the caliper off. It was very tight, so it's not releasing. Now when I did the brakes, I seen this, the boots are all shot. The dirt went in there, and when I pressed these back in to get clearance for the new pads, the dirt and everything went in there with it, and I didn't have the kit, so I had to put everything back the way it was. And these cylinders, these pistons, are all shot from the heat. It just deteriorated the whole front surface. I'll show you the new piston. There's a metal ring, and these weren't pushing. These are not pushing even. They're pushing crooked, and the piston is probably getting caught in there. So we're going to pop these out. I'm going to pop them out with the brake pedal. I'm going to use the fluid to push them out. I'm going to leave everything in place. I'm not going to take the caliper off. I'm going to try to do it in place first. Okay, so what I did, I got a 5-gallon bucket, and I got a lid off of a bucket to catch the oil. There's going to be some brake fluid coming out of here, so I want to catch it. And I got gloves on because brake fluid is pretty nasty stuff. So the bucket is to keep the pressure. You don't want to have it hanging on this hose. So I'm going to go in and push the pedal. Little by little, I'm going to come over and look to see how much the pistons moved, and I'm going to slowly move them out until I could wiggle them out. I don't want them to fly out or blow out of there, so I'm going to do it little by little. Okay, so I pushed the pedal a couple of times and you can see what's happening. This piston is coming out. This piston is stuck. That's probably the one that was hanging up the brake pad. And you can see on the outside of the piston it's a little dirty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a block in here to get this one to start moving, because I don't want this one to come out and this one to stay in, because then it'll be hard to get this one out. So I'm going to block this up and start pushing this one out. Okay, so they're coming out. This one was very tight, but it's loose now. This one is loose. This one is still a little bit tight. So we'll put the block in this one and push that one a little bit more. That should be good enough. Okay, we'll give it another push. Okay, so we got this piston out. That one blew out. There's some brake fluid here. That's why I used this pan, so it's not all over the place. So we got one piston out. This one should come right out. Not much of a problem, I hope. Probably a little cocked, yep. Okay, that one is out. All right. So what we'll do is we'll dump this into the bucket. A lot of dirt come out of there. Get that in the bucket. Okay, so then we got the pistons out. Now I'm going to get a rag and I'm going to get a light over here, and we're going to pull the seals out and we're going to get the O-ring out of there. It's a square O-ring. As long as we don't have any fluid coming down the line, we don't have to pinch the line. Some people pinch the line with a vice grip or a C-clamp so it doesn't leak fluid, but hopefully we can do this fast enough. We're not going to lose much fluid, and you want to keep an eye on your reservoir. This is the fluid reservoir. So you want to keep fluid in here. You don't want that to go empty, because then you're going to have to bleed all the brakes on the truck. Here we're just going to have to bleed this one caliper. Okay, so I got the old seals. These are the piston boots that keep the dirt from going in. These are the internal squared O-rings that seal the piston. And brake fluid's running down. It's running down. I'm going to lose brake fluid, but it's better than crimping the line. Some people crimp the line. I don't want to crimp the line, so I'm just going to deal with the brake fluid coming down. It's a little dirty anyway, so I'll put fresh. As it drains down, I'll put fresh in there. You just don't want it to go all the way down and get air in the lines. So I have a container up there. I'm filling it up. So what you want to do now, you want to scrape the groove where the boot goes in, because it gets rusty from the elements here on the outside. So you want to scrape that, all the rust out of there. so the new boot goes in, you know, with no problem. Okay, I'm going to continue with that. I'll get back to you. Okay, here's the bleeder screw. It was dirty, so I took it out. I want to leave it out because I want to clean everything. And then when you put the pistons in, you want the air to go out the bleeder screw so you can get the pistons in. So I'm going to keep that out. I got everything cleaned here. So I got brake cleaner. Now these are the new pistons. That's the metal ring that was missing on the other ones that pushes up against the pad. These are phenolic pistons, which means they're plastic. I just want to check. Okay, I'm gonna clean this up a little bit more, and then put some brake fluid in there and check the piston, make sure they go in. Okay, so this is going low on brake fluid, so I'm going to put some more in because I don't want to get the whole thing airbound. It's leaking out down below, but it's flushing out the old brake fluid, so I don't really mind right now. Okay, so this is all clean. I cleaned all that up with brake cleaner, so that's nice and clean. And I'm gonna get the piston. I'm gonna put a little brake fluid on the piston and make sure they go in without hanging up or getting stuck. That's what I'm checking. They're a little bit tight. Okay, that one goes in. This one is a little tight, so I'm gonna have to maybe sand this down a little bit more. Okay, so we got all this cleaned up. The bores are all clean. The pistons go in real easily. So these are the new seals. These are the square rings that go on the inside in the first groove, on the inner groove. And these are the dust boots that go on the outside. So we're going to put these in first. They go in the inner groove. So you want to put them in nice and straight. You don't want them twisted or anything. Then I'm going to put some brake fluid. The brake fluid that's running down, I'm going to coat it with brake fluid because I don't have any grease. There's a special grease that you use on that. I don't have any. So that one's in. Okay, we'll get this one in. Okay, that's easy enough. Put, like I said, coat it with brake fluid, the bore, everything. Put a good coating on. Okay, so now we got our boots, and they go, this goes in first, this part goes into this groove, and then your piston goes over that. So this could be a little tricky. I'm gonna come back to you when I get it in there. Okay, so what I ended up doing was I put the boot over the piston the proper way. This goes into the ring, to the groove there. This here goes in the groove. So you want that on the bottom of the piston. I got this one in, and it's kind of tight going down. The boot, the rubber seal, the boot is getting tight on the piston. So I'm going to get this one in over here. I just put it like this down in there, and I work this into the groove. I'm going to get this one in, and then I think I'm going to have to get compressed air and put compressed air on the bleed fitting where the bleed is, and that will, I'm going to try to push these seals, this boot, going to try to push the boot out so it's not grabbing, it's grabbing the piston as I'm pushing it down. So I'm going to try to push it with the air so it comes out a little bit. That's my plan right now. Okay, I finally got them in. What I had to do was put the boot over the piston, get it caught inside the groove in the caliper, and then as I'm pushing the piston, I kept moving this dust boot up to the groove. There's a groove up top that holds it. So as I was pushing it in, I was moving this up, and it didn't jam. But these are very tight going in. It's not like doing a one piston caliper, which is a lot easier. A two piston caliper is more difficult. So I'm going to put the old brake pad on here with a C-clamp and try to push these in, because they're pretty tight. Okay, so I got the old brake pad. I got two C-clamps because there's two pistons, and I'm just turning them even. They're going in. The pistons are going right in. They're very tight fit. With the new O-ring. I didn't have any grease that was compatible with brake fluid, so I used the brake fluid on there. It might have swelled the seal up a little bit, because brake fluid can do that, and that's why it might have been tighter than what they should have been. Okay, so they're in, the boots are on, everything went back together really nice. And what I'm going to do now is, this is the bleeder. I'm going to put that on the highest point. So I'm going to put that up there on the top. And the fluid's been coming down the brake line because I didn't crimp it or anything, so I've been fighting the brake fluid, which makes the job a little harder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it like this, if I can get it to stay here. So that's on the highest point. So the brake fluid's coming down the line. It's trickling down. And I'm going to use gravity to fill the caliper up with brake fluid. And that'll purge the air out. And it should almost be completely bled. So when I put it back in place, I might just have to pump the pedal once and then bleed it with the bleeder screw, and that should be completely bled. So this is a trick. You let it come down, the gravity, fill it up. Okay guys, we got fluid coming out of the bleeder screw. So what we did was we gravity bled the caliper. So now I'm going to put the bleeder screw in there, and most of the air should be out. If we do have a spongy pedal, then we'll have to bleed it the regular way. But we'll see if this works. So guys, follow my channel and you'll learn little tricks like this on saving time and headaches. Okay, so while we got that off, these pins got to be greased. These pins make the caliper float, so you apply pressure on both sides of the rotor, on the brake pads. If these seize up, it doesn't move. You don't get the outer pad doing any braking. The inner pad does all the work, and it's not a good thing. So make sure these are greased up real good. They go back in there. Just wipe the excess grease off so it doesn't get on the rotor. Luckily these boots are in good shape on these. Nothing happened to them, but you can buy a replacement kit. So you want to make sure they move in and out. Okay, and then our rotor is all rebuilt, and that goes back in here. Push these pins in to get the rotor on the other side. And these two bolts go back in here. Like I said, I have a video I'm going to put up on changing the rotor and the brake pads. I did that, and then I had to come back and get parts for the caliper. So that's a video. Okay, I'm going to tighten this up. I already have the video on that, so I'm not going to show it again. Okay, so we're all done. I did have to bleed it. I rigged up a piece of tubing here and I bled it twice. The first time had air, the second time was good. So the gravity fills up the caliper quickly and you just power bleed it. Most of the air is gone, so you just bleed it once. I did it twice to make sure. And that's it, we're all back together again. The caliper turns. So that's it. So we're all set. Gonna put the wheel back on and away we'll go. Okay, thanks for watching. That's how you do it. And it's a little difficult because of the two pistons, but just take your time and you'll get it together.